The morning sky over New York City turned black as metal. Giant ships appeared without warning, each one the size of a small city. They blocked out the sun and cast dark shadows over the streets below. People stopped walking and looked up with open mouths. Cars crashed into each other as drivers forgot to watch the road. Admiral Kithara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Her cold yellow eyes watched the blue planet below. Her scaled face showed no emotion. She had done this many times before. 300 years of conquest had taught her that fear was the best weapon. Every species in the galaxy knew the Draconian name. Every world trembled when they heard it. The reptilian admiral touched the communication panel with her clawed hand. Her voice echoed across all the ships in her fleet. Begin standard invasion protocol. Deploy fear generators. Establish orbital control. These humans will surrender like all the others. On Earth, President Jake Morrison sat in the White House Situation Room. The phone in his hand would not stop ringing. Every world leader wanted to know what to do. The television screens showed the same terrible sight. Huge alien ships hovering over every major city on the planet. How many ships are there? Morrison asked. General Lisa Carter looked at her tablet. Her hands shook as she read the numbers. 537 confirmed. They appeared over London, Moscow, Beijing, Tokyo, and 200 other cities. Our satellites show more ships coming from deep space. What do our weapons do against them? Nothing, sir. We fired everything we had. Missiles, nuclear weapons, laser systems, nothing even scratched their shields. In Colorado, Dr. Alex Newman ran through the underground halls of the secret research facility. His white lab coat flew behind him as he rushed to his computer. Dr. Helen Price was already there, typing numbers into the quantum computer. Alex, look at this, she said. I ran scans on their ships. The energy patterns are strange. It's like their technology is connected to their minds somehow. Dr. Newman looked at the data on the screen. That's impossible. No species has ever achieved direct neural connection with their machines. The Draconians have. Their pilots are not just flying their ships. They are part of their ships. Their thoughts control everything. Above them, the Draconian fleet waited in perfect formation. Each ship was a work of deadly art, black metal covered in sharp spikes, weapons that could burn entire continents, shields that could stop any attack humans could make. Captain Danny Rodriguez climbed into his fighter jet at the Edwards Air Force Base. His squadron had been ordered to engage the enemy. Everyone knew it was suicide, but someone had to try. Listen up, people, he said into his radio. We're not going to win this fight. But we're going to show them that humans don't give up easy. Lieutenant Amy Foster checked her weapons systems. All systems green, Captain. Ready to die for humanity. Speak for yourself, Foster, said Commander Nick Williams. I plan to take a few of them with me. The human fighters took off into the dark sky. The Draconian ships did not even notice them at first. They were too small, too weak to be a threat. But when the humans started firing, the aliens responded with terrible force. Beams of energy cut through the air. Human fighters exploded in balls of fire. But still more kept coming. The Draconians had never seen anything like it. Usually species gave up after losing a few ships. Humans kept fighting even when they had no hope of winning. Admiral Kithara watched the battle with growing confusion. These humans are acting strangely, she told her second in command. They continue to attack even though they cannot win. Perhaps they are too primitive to understand defeat, the younger Draconian replied. No, this is something else. Something I have not seen before, the ultimatum came at sunset. Every television, radio, and computer on Earth showed the same message. Admiral Kithara's face appeared on screens around the world. Her reptilian features were frightening to look at. Her voice was cold and without feeling. Humans of Earth, she said. I am Admiral Kithara of the Draconian Empire. Your world is now under our control? You have 72 hours to surrender completely. Lay down all weapons. Submit to our rule. If you refuse, your species will be destroyed. We have eliminated 237 worlds before you. Do not make us add Earth to that number, the message ended. The world fell silent. In the Pentagon, President Morrison met with his advisors. Military leaders from every nation attended by video call. The question was simple but terrible. Should humanity surrender or fight to the end? We can't win, said General Carter. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. One of their ships could destroy our entire fleet. But we can't just give up, Morrison replied. What would that make us? Dr. Newman burst into the room without permission. Security guards tried to stop him, but Morrison waved them away. Mr. President, we might have another option, Dr. Newman said. Dr. Price and I have been studying their technology. There might be a way to fight them without weapons? What are you talking about? Their ships are connected to their minds. If we can disrupt that connection, we might be able to stop them without killing anyone. General Carter shook her head. That sounds like science fiction. So did nuclear weapons once, Dr. Newman replied. Give us time. Give us a chance. President Morrison looked around the room. Every face showed the same thing. Fear mixed with desperate hope. The most powerful military in human history was useless against the Draconian fleet. But maybe, just maybe, human science could find another way. How much time do you need? Morrison asked. 48 hours, maybe less. You have it, but if this doesn't work, we'll have to consider surrender. Dr. Newman nodded and ran back to his laboratory. The fate of humanity now rested on quantum science and the wild hope that there was more than one way to win a war. Above them, the Draconian fleet waited in the darkness. Admiral Cathara felt something she had not experienced in centuries. Doubt. These humans were different from other species. They had something that made her ancient warrior instincts warn her of danger, but she pushed the feeling away. In 72 hours, Earth would be another conquered world. Or so she thought. The clock on the wall showed 18 hours until the deadline. Dr. Sam Parker had not slept since the Draconian fleet arrived. His eyes were red from staring at computer screens. Coffee cups covered his desk. His team worked around him like busy ants. Sam, you need to see this, called Dr. Maria Lopez from across the laboratory. She pointed at her computer screen. The quantum readings from their ships are getting stranger. Dr. Parker walked over and looked at the data. Numbers and graphs filled the screen, but these were not normal readings. The patterns showed something that should not exist. Their consciousness is spread across multiple dimensions, Dr. Parker said quietly. No wonder their technology is so advanced. They're not just thinking in our reality. They're thinking in several realities at once. Dr. Kevin Chen looked up from his calculations. If that's true, then they're vulnerable in ways they don't even know. What do you mean? Think about it. If their minds exist in multiple dimensions, what happens if we force them to experience all those dimensions at the same time? Instead of controlling which reality they focus on, they would have to deal with every possible version of themselves. Dr. Parker felt his heart beat faster. That's not fighting them. That's helping them find every version of themselves that exists. 60 miles away, Lieutenant Commander Tyler Brooks sat in the Hidden Communication Center under Colorado Springs. His job was to listen to alien radio signals and try to understand what the Draconians were saying. The computer had been learning their language for the past day. Sir, you need to hear this, he called to his commanding officer. The Draconian communications are changing. They're starting to sound confused. Colonel Pete Davis put on the headphones. Through the static, he could hear alien voices speaking in urgent tones. The computer translated their words into English text on the screen. Navigation. Systems report position uncertainty, said one voice. Weapons targeting is experiencing drift, said another. Something is wrong with the quantum stabilizers, said a third. Colonel Davis took off the headphones. What could cause their systems to malfunction? I don't know, sir. But it's getting worse. In the last hour, their communications have become more frantic. High above Earth, Admiral Kithara felt the first signs of the problem. She stood on the bridge of her flagship, but something was wrong. The floor seemed to shift slightly under her feet. The walls appeared to waver like water. She closed her eyes and opened them again. Everything looked normal. "Admiral, we're receiving reports of system glitches across the fleet," said Commander Vex, her second in command. "Nothing serious, but the pattern is unusual." "What kind of glitches?" "Mainly navigation and targeting systems. Some pilots report feeling disoriented. Our engineers cannot find any technical problems." Admiral Kithara felt a chill run down her spine. In 300 years of conquest, she had never experienced anything like this. Her ships were perfect. Her technology was flawless. What could be causing these problems? At the Pentagon, Dr. Patricia Wells ran down the hallway carrying a stack of papers. She burst into the meeting room where President Morrison was talking to military leaders. "Mr. President, we've made a breakthrough," she said, breathing heavily. Dr. Parker was right. The Draconians are quantum entangled with their ships. But it's more than that. "Explain it in simple terms," Morrison said. "Think of it like this. Normal people have one consciousness in one body. The Draconians have one consciousness spread across many dimensions. This makes them very powerful, but also very vulnerable. If we can force them to experience all those dimensions at once, they won't be able to function." General Carter leaned forward. "Are you saying we can defeat them without weapons?" "Not defeat them, change them. Most versions of themselves across the dimensions are not warriors. They're farmers, artists, teachers. If we force them to experience all those versions at once, they'll remember who they really are." The room fell silent. President Morrison looked at the faces around the table. "How do we do it?" Dr. Wells smiled. "We've been building a quantum field generator. It's not a weapon. It's more like a mirror that shows all possible realities at once." Back in the laboratory, Dr. Grace Turner worked on the final calculations. The quantum field generator was almost ready. It looked like a large silver dish pointing toward the sky. Cables and computers surrounded it. "Field strength is at 90%, she called out. "Quantum harmonics are stable." "We're ready for the test." Dr. Parker stood at the control panel. His hand rested on the activation switch. "Everyone remember, we're not attacking them. We're helping them find their true selves." The first test pulse lasted only 3 seconds, but the effect was immediate. Around the world, Draconian ships began to shimmer. Their perfect formations wavered. Pilots reported seeing things that were not there. Admiral Kithara felt it like a punch to the stomach. For a moment, she was not standing on the bridge of a warship. She was in a small house on her home planet, teaching young children about mathematics. The vision was so real she could smell the flowers in the garden outside. "Admiral," Commander Vex called out. "Are you all right?" Kithara shook her head. The vision faded, but the feeling remained. Something is happening to us. The humans are doing something we don't understand. Shall we begin the attack early? No, not yet. I need to understand what they're doing first. In the laboratory, Dr. Parker watched the readings on his screen. The first pulse had worked better than expected. The Draconian ships were already showing signs of quantum displacement. "How long until we can generate a full field?" he asked. 6 hours, Dr. Turner replied. "But Sam, are you sure about this?" "Once we activate the full field, there's no turning back." Dr. Parker looked at the data streaming across his screens. Each number represented a Draconian consciousness beginning to experience multiple realities. In some of those realities, they were peaceful. In others, they had never left their homeworlds. In most, they had never become conquerors at all. "They deserve to know who they really are," he said quietly. "We all do," the countdown began. In 6 hours, humanity would either save itself or doom both species to an uncertain fate. But for the first time since the invasion began, Dr. Parker felt hope. They were not trying to destroy their enemies. They were trying to help them find themselves. The real battle was about to begin. The clock showed 14:30 when Dr. Sam Parker placed his hand on the final activation switch. Around him, his team watched in silence. Computer screens showed energy readings that had never been seen before. The quantum field generator hummed with power. "This is it," Dr. Parker said quietly. "Once we do this, we can't stop it." Dr. Grace Turner nodded from her position at the monitoring station. "All systems are ready. Field strength is at maximum. Quantum harmonics are stable." President Morrison's voice came through the speakers from Washington. "Dr. Parker, you have permission to proceed. The fate of humanity is in your hands." Dr. Parker pressed the switch. The effect was immediate but subtle. The air around the laboratory seemed to shimmer like heat waves on a summer day. But the real change was happening in space above them. The quantum field spread outward like invisible ripples on a pond. Commander Rachel Stone watched from the NORAD command center. Her screen showed the Draconian fleet hanging in the sky above major cities. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then she noticed something strange. "The smaller ships are flickering," she said into her headset. "It's like they're going in and out of focus." On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Kithara felt the world shift around her. One moment she was standing on the command deck of her flagship. The next moment she was sitting in a small classroom on her homeworld, teaching young Draconians about art and music. The vision was so real she could hear the children laughing. She could smell the sweet flowers that grew outside the school. She could feel the warmth of the sun on her scales. But then she blinked, and she was back on the warship. "Admiral, something is wrong," Commander Vex said. His voice sounded distant and confused. "I keep seeing things that aren't there." "What kind of things?" "I see myself as a farmer. I'm growing food for my family. I've never been a soldier. I don't even know what a weapon is." Around the fleet? The same thing was happening to every Draconian. They were experiencing all the different versions of themselves that existed across the dimensions. Most of those versions had never chosen the path of war. The first ship to disappear was a small scout vessel orbiting over Tokyo. It flickered like a dying light bulb, then faded away completely. The pilot, Captain Zix, found himself experiencing 1,000 different lives at once. In most of them, he was a peaceful explorer, not a warrior. "Where did it go?" asked Dr. Maria Lopez, watching the readings in the laboratory. "It's still there," Dr. Parker replied, "but it's spread across so many realities that we can't see it anymore. The pilot is experiencing every possible version of himself at once. The larger ships took longer to fade, but the process was unstoppable." The Draconian crews were losing their ability to focus on their mission of conquest. They were remembering who they had been before the Empire turned them into soldiers. Lieutenant Pete Morrison flew his fighter jet through the space where a Draconian cruiser had been just minutes before. "It's like they were never here," he reported. "But my instruments are picking up strange energy readings." "The quantum field is working," Dr. Helen Price explained to the gathered world leaders. "The Draconians aren't being destroyed. They're being returned to all their possible states of existence simultaneously." Admiral Kithara fought to stay focused on her mission. But the visions kept coming. She saw herself as a young student, learning about the beauty of the universe. She saw herself as a mother, caring for her children. She saw herself as a teacher, sharing knowledge instead of spreading fear. "I don't understand what's happening to us," she said to her bridge crew. But when she looked around, she saw that they were all experiencing the same thing. Some were staring at empty space, seeing lives they had never lived. Others were speaking to people who weren't there. The quantum field grew stronger. More ships began to fade. The massive dreadnoughts that had terrified countless worlds started to shimmer and lose substance. Their crews were discovering the truth about themselves. Dr. Angela Davis monitored the process from her station. "The neural patterns are stabilizing," she reported. "They're not fighting the displacement anymore. They're accepting it." "What does that mean?" asked President Morrison. "It means they're choosing to stay in the realities where they're peaceful. They prefer those versions of themselves." Commander Nick Williams, flying patrol over Washington, D.C., watched the largest Draconian ship begin to fade. "The flagship is going translucent," he reported. "I can see right through it." Inside that ship, Admiral Kithara made a decision that would change everything. She stopped fighting the visions and let herself experience them fully. In one reality, she was a teacher on a peaceful world. In another, she was an artist creating beautiful sculptures. In yet another, she was a scientist exploring the wonders of the universe. "These are all me," she whispered. "These are all who I could have been." The bridge around her began to fade. Her crew was disappearing into their own chosen realities. The great warship that had conquered dozens of worlds became nothing more than a ghost in the sky. "Admiral," Commander Vex said, his voice growing faint, "I can see my home, I can see my family. I want to go back to them." "Then go," Admiral Kithara said. "We all should go back to who we really are." The last of the Draconian fleet vanished as the sun set over Earth. The sky was clear for the first time in days. The threat that had hung over humanity was gone, dissolved into quantum possibilities. In the laboratory, Dr. Parker watched the final readings. "It worked," he said in amazement. "They're all still alive, but they're living in the realities where they chose peace instead of war." Dr. Grace Turner smiled. "We didn't defeat them. We helped them defeat themselves." Around the world, people came out of their hiding places. They looked up at the clear sky and saw stars instead of enemy ships. The Draconian fleet had vanished, but humanity had learned something important. Sometimes the greatest victory comes not from destroying your enemies, but from helping them find their better selves. The quantum field generator powered down. The crisis was over. But the real work was just beginning. Humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they had a new way of solving conflicts. And the galaxy was about to take notice. The news traveled across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within hours, every advanced civilization knew that the impossible had happened. The Draconian fleet, terror of the stars for 3 centuries, had simply vanished while attacking a primitive world called Earth. Ambassador Tellen of the Zephyrian Council was the first to arrive. Her ship appeared in Earth's orbit 3 days after the disappearance. The Zephyrians had fought the Draconians for generations and lost many worlds to their empire. When she heard the news, she could not believe it. "Request permission to land," she transmitted to Earth's new Space Command Center. President Morrison met her at the landing site in Nevada. Ambassador Tellen was tall and blue-skinned, with large silver eyes that seemed to see everything. She wore robes that shimmered like water in the sunlight. "President Morrison," she said through her translation device, "my people need to know what happened here. The Draconians destroyed our homeworld 50 years ago. Now you tell us they are gone?" "They're not gone," Morrison replied carefully. "They're somewhere else, living different lives." "I do not understand. Our best weapons could not scratch their ships. Our greatest warriors died trying to stop them. How did you make them disappear?" Dr. Sam Parker stepped forward. "We didn't fight them, Ambassador. We helped them find other versions of themselves. Versions that never wanted to conquer anyone." Ambassador Tellen's silver eyes grew wide. "You're saying they chose to leave?" "In a way, yes. When they saw all the different lives they could have lived, most of them chose peace over war." The Zephyrian Ambassador was quiet for a long moment. "This changes everything," she finally said. More ships arrived over the following days. The Altarian Empire sent their war leader, General Thox. He was a massive creature with thick gray skin and 4 arms. His species had been at war with the Draconians for 200 years. "Show me your weapons," he demanded as soon as he landed. "Show me how you destroyed the fleet that conquered half the galaxy." Dr. Grace Turner led him to the quantum field generator. It looked like a simple silver dish surrounded by computers. General Thox examined it carefully. "This is not a weapon," he said in confusion. "Where are the energy cannons? Where are the plasma bombs?" "We don't have those kinds of weapons," Dr. Turner explained. "This machine doesn't destroy things. It shows them what they really are." "I don't understand. How can showing someone who they are defeat them?" "Because most of the Draconians didn't really want to be conquerors. Deep down, they wanted to be farmers, teachers, artists. When we showed them those possibilities, they chose to live those lives instead." General Thok stared at the machine for a long time. My people have been preparing for war for generations. We built the biggest guns, the strongest shields, but you won with this? We didn't win, Dr. Parker said quietly. We helped everyone win. The Draconians are happier now. They're living the lives they always wanted. The Moralian philosopher-scientists arrived next. They were small, gray beings with large heads and gentle eyes. Their leader, Dr. Kalena, was fascinated by humanity's approach. We have studied warfare for 1,000 years, she said. We have written books about strategy and tactics, but never have we seen anything like this. You turned conquest into compassion. We just treated them like people, Dr. Helen Price replied. Everyone deserves a chance to be their best self. Dr. Kalena nodded slowly. Your species thinks differently than others. Most races develop bigger weapons when faced with threats. You developed bigger understanding. Word spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of the Draconians for centuries suddenly found themselves free. But they also found themselves curious about the strange humans who had done the impossible. The Corellian traders arrived with ships full of gifts. The Vendari scientists came with questions about quantum physics. The telepathic collective of Rigel sent representatives to study human emotions. President Morrison found himself hosting meetings with aliens every day. Earth scientists were suddenly the most sought-after people in the galaxy. Everyone wanted to understand how humanity had solved the Draconian problem. We're not teachers, Dr. Parker said during one meeting with 12 different species. We're just people who got lucky. We found a way to help instead of hurt. But how did you know it would work? Asked Captain Vorth of the Stellar Federation. How did you know they would choose peace? We didn't know, Dr. Patricia Wells admitted. We just hoped. We believe that deep down everyone wants to be good, even the Draconians. The galaxy was changing. Species that had been enemies for centuries started talking to each other. The fear that had gripped civilizations for generations was beginning to fade. Admiral Danny Rodriguez, now commander of Earth's first interstellar fleet, worked with alien leaders to establish new trade routes. Former enemies became partners. War fleets were converted to exploration vessels. It's like the whole galaxy is waking up from a bad dream, he told his crew. People are remembering that they don't have to fight all the time. Janet Brooks, Earth's new Secretary of Quantum Diplomacy, received requests from dozens of worlds. Everyone wanted to learn about peaceful conflict resolution. They wanted to understand how to help their enemies instead of destroying them. We're not miracle workers, she told the alien delegates. We just believe that everyone deserves a chance to be better than they are. The Zephyrian Council announced they were converting their war fleet to humanitarian ships. The Altarian Empire began programs to help refugees from former Draconian territories. The Moralian philosophers started writing new books about peace instead of war, but the biggest change was in how species looked at each other. The old way of thinking about conflict was dying. A new way was being born. Dr. Sam Parker stood in his laboratory, looking at letters from scientists across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to work together now. Everyone wanted to build a better future. We didn't just make the Draconians disappear, he said to his team. We made the whole idea of galactic conquest disappear with them. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had shown everyone that there was another way to solve problems. Not through force, but through understanding. Not through fear, but through hope. The age of conquest was ending. The age of cooperation was about to begin. 6 months after the vanishing, Earth looked completely different. Ships from dozens of worlds filled the sky above major cities, but these were not invasion fleets. They were visitors, students, and new friends coming to learn about humanity's way of solving problems. Dr. Sam Parker stood in the newly built Galactic Quantum Institute in orbit around Earth. Through the large windows, he could see ships from the Zephyrian Council, the Altarian Empire, and 20 other civilizations. Scientists from across the galaxy worked together in laboratories that once seemed impossible. Dr. Parker, we're receiving another communication from the quantum realm, said Dr. Maria Lopez. She had become the head of the Draconian Contact Division, a department that helped displaced Draconians adjust to their new lives. Who is it this time? Dr. Parker asked. Admiral Cathara, she wants to talk. Dr. Parker put on the quantum communication headset. The device let him speak with people scattered across different dimensions. It was strange technology, but it worked. Admiral Cathara, he said, how are you? Her voice came through clearly, though she was speaking from a reality where she had never been a warrior. I am well, Dr. Parker. I wanted to thank you again. In this life, I teach mathematics to young children. I never knew such peace was possible. Are you happy there? Very happy. I have a small garden where I grow flowers. My students are eager to learn. This is who I was always meant to be. What about your crew? Most have chosen similar lives. Commander Vex runs a farm on our homeworld. Captain Zix explores distant stars for scientific research, not conquest. We remember our warrior lives, but we prefer these peaceful ones. Dr. Parker smiled. That's wonderful to hear. Is there anything you need? Just to say thank you. You didn't destroy us. You freed us from lives we never really wanted. The conversation ended and Dr. Parker took off the headset. These talks happened every day now. Scattered Draconians from across the quantum realm contacted Earth to share their new lives and express their gratitude. President Morrison walked into the laboratory. He had aged in the past 6 months, but he looked happier. The weight of leading humanity through its first contact with hostile aliens had been enormous. Now he was leading them into a new age of galactic cooperation. Dr. Parker, the Galactic Council is ready for your presentation, Morrison said. They walked together to the main conference room. Representatives from 47 different species sat around a circular table. This was the first formal meeting of what would become the Galactic Quantum Accord. Ambassador Talon of the Zephyrian Council stood to speak first. 6 months ago, my people lived in fear. The Draconians had destroyed our homeworld and scattered our families. Today, many of our lost relatives have contacted us from the quantum realm. They are alive and happy in realities where the invasion never happened. General Fox of the Altarian Empire was next. My species has been at war for 2 centuries. We built weapons of mass destruction and trained billions of soldiers. But Earth has shown us that the greatest strength comes from helping others find peace within themselves. Dr. Kilana of the Moralian philosophers spoke quietly. We have studied conflict for 1,000 years. We wrote countless books about strategy and tactics. But in 6 months, humanity has taught us more about solving problems than we learned in a millennium. Dr. Parker stood to address the gathering. Friends from across the galaxy, we didn't set out to change everything. We just tried to save our world. But we learned something important. Every being in the universe has multiple possibilities within them. Most of the time they choose peace if given the chance. Captain Vorth of the Stellar Federation raised his hand. Dr. Parker, many of our worlds want to build quantum field generators like yours. Can you help us? Of course. But remember, this technology isn't meant to be a weapon. It's meant to help people find their best selves. Use it wisely. Over the following hours, they drafted the Galactic Quantum Accord. The document established new rules for solving conflicts between species. Instead of war, they would use quantum diplomacy. Instead of conquest, they would offer understanding. 40-7. Civilizations signed the accord that day. It was the largest peace treaty in galactic history. Admiral Danny Rodriguez returned from a diplomatic mission to the former Draconian territories. His ships carried not weapons, but food, medicine, and quantum communication devices. Worlds that had been oppressed for generations were now free to contact their lost loved ones in peaceful realities. The transformation is incredible, he reported to the Earth Defense Council. Planets that were military bases are becoming research centers. Former slave worlds are starting universities. The whole region is becoming a center of learning and culture. Dr. Grace Turner worked with alien scientists to improve the quantum field technology. They had learned to use it not just for conflict resolution, but for therapy and personal growth. People could experience different versions of themselves to understand their full potential. We're not just preventing wars, she explained to a group of students. We're helping individuals become the best versions of themselves. Janet Brooks, Secretary of Quantum Diplomacy, received daily requests from across the galaxy. Species that had never met before wanted to establish peaceful relations. The fear that had kept civilizations apart for centuries was disappearing. It's like the whole galaxy is growing up, she told her staff. People are learning that they don't have to be afraid of each other. The changes were not just political, they were personal. Alien visitors to Earth often spoke about how humanity's example had changed their own thinking. They returned to their worlds with new ideas about cooperation and understanding. Dr. Helen Price established the Center for Quantum Psychology. Beings from dozens of species came to learn how to help others overcome trauma and find inner peace. The center became one of the most important institutions in the galaxy. Every being has the potential for both violence and peace, she taught her students. Our job is to help them choose peace. As the months passed, reports came in from across the galaxy. The Carillion Merchant Guild had stopped using armed escorts for their trade ships. The warrior clans of Sigma had converted their battle academies into art schools. The telepathic collective had begun helping other species understand their emotions better. Dr. Sam Parker stood again at the observation window of the Galactic Quantum Institute. Ships from dozens of worlds moved peacefully through space around Earth. Scientists, diplomats, artists, and philosophers worked together in ways that had seemed impossible a year ago. We didn't just save Earth, he said to Dr. Maria Lopez. We helped save the galaxy from itself. Do you think it will last? She asked. I think it will grow. Every generation will understand peace better than the last. Every species will learn to help instead of hurt. In the quantum realm, Admiral Kithara tended her garden and taught her students about the beauty of mathematics. In countless other realities, former Draconian warriors lived as farmers, artists, and explorers. They had found their true selves at last. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in its history. The greatest victories were not won on battlefields, but in the hearts and minds of people who chose to be better than they were. Humanity had shown everyone that peace was not just possible, it was preferable. The age of conquest was over. The age of understanding had begun.